Thank you, Erica. I'm just going to give you a quick run through of how we got to the theme about community resilience and why we are sort of here and who we worked with to get there. Oops, just waiting for my presentation. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so if you didn't read the curatorial statement on the website, I'll just take you through some of it. This festival and conference and masterclasses is quite relevant to our future cities. A lot of our work is thinking about the policies and processes and projects that relate to the future of urban development and planning and design. And when the slides come up, you'll see a bit more about that. So this festival is really integral to that. For me, it's not just about putting together a program or finding speakers or people working on amazing things. It's actually a research process. We go into a really deep dive into meeting new people, into finding people who are not just urban planners and architects and industrial designers, but people who are dealing with immense projects and challenges across not just Cape Town, but across Africa. Can you see that? One thing that came up in our meeting with the fantastic curatorial committee was that when we speak about resilience, it's often people who are most marginalized and least resourced that have to be the most resilient almost every day. Every time a train breaks down, it's a cost to use a different option. Every time there's a flood, there's a risk of fire. I live in Sea Point and people are panicking about the fire coming down the mountain. I was just thinking about people who live with this risk every single day, that their entire livelihoods could be burnt away due to a neighbor, due to a fire spreading. So this is sort of a key lesson, and this is why we came to community resilience. It's quite a key topic and a focus for this festival. Who are the people, the groups, the communities that actually need the resilience focus and the investment and the ideas and the work? Resilience is quite a complex topic because cities are quite complex. This is from a WITS report on urban resilience thinking, which is actually a really good report. And resilience is actually a sort of mix of various things. It's not just about infrastructure. It's about the flows of resources. It's about social dynamics and people, as Erica mentioned as well, and then the built environment. So it's not really just sort of an architectural design process where you replan the coastline and sort of forget about the people, the flows of resources, people driving in their cars every day, the carbon emissions. It's actually sort of the integration of all these things. A city is also a very complex mix of things that are both tangible and intangible. There's politics. We all know decisions don't always get made according to logic and evidence. And I included this picture of WhatsApp here because women at Atlantis every day, gather sort of on WhatsApp to walk together safely and time their walk to public transport in the morning because they have to get up at 4:35 a.m. in the dark. And it's these simple things combined with the big ideas and the big plans which actually build resilience over time. And as we know, our challenge is not limited to hard infrastructure. How are we designing our collective soft infrastructure? Would you say that our trains arrive on fire at Cape Town Station because we can't run trains or build train tracks or design public transport systems? Or are there governance, organizational issues, underlying issues which we really need to be working on in addition to sort of just the hard infrastructure and getting new trains, building new tracks, building new stations? There's a big debate going on around the world about where you focus resilience at the moment. Of course, New York had a fantastic process called Rebuild by Design after Hurricane Sandy, which focused on rethinking how to protect the coastline of New York. But in most topics related to resilience, there's a debate at the moment about which parts do you protect first. Do you spend $500 million on protecting the financial district of Manhattan, or do you start in Brooklyn or in other parts of the city? So where do we start with building resilience, and how do we find that sort of decision-making framework that puts people first? But it's not all doom and gloom. A lot of our work involves looking to the future and trying to convince not just politicians, but academics, activists, that the future challenges are not that far away. We can deal with issues of food security, water security, social unrest today, and often things we think that are 30 to 50 years away, like the water crisis, are actually right with us right now. So how do we think together right now about these challenges which often seemed quite distant? And we can do that in steps. It's not just simply about releasing one big vision for the future. Technology will improve over time. There'll be new innovation, new businesses. We can test, we can innovate, we can actually just take steps. And I think this Co-Create Design Festival, for not just for the consulate, but for everyone involved, is just one of those incremental steps towards getting to that sort of more resilient future. We also need to co-design stronger networks, smarter infrastructure, and integrate more of our processes. We work a lot on public spaces in Cape Town, and one thing we find is that even when private sector wants to spend money or somebody wants to donate improvements to public spaces. It's just very difficult because we don't have the networks, we don't know the red tape, there are 100 permits to apply for, people just simply don't reply to email. So how do we build those smarter networks and integrated processes so we actually get a bit further and build our resilience over time? This is a fantastic quote from Charlie Edwards, who wrote a book called Resilient Nation, I think 4 or 5 years ago. He says, next generation resilience doesn't rely on institutions of state, but actually on citizens and communities. And I think that's why it's really so relevant today. This is a picture from a workshop last year, which Design Space Africa ran, focused on re-blocking and replanning parts of the Kosovo community. And I think this is really the ethos and the values behind the conference today and the masterclasses tomorrow. And community resilience is really just an everyday activity. It's the conversations, the meetings, the dialogues, the people you meet, the connections you make. And it's not really, again, just one big distant design process or strategy which happens in an office somewhere. We learned from last year often what people give us in terms of feedback from these conferences and festivals, that there's no way to get involved afterwards. So our format this year is a bit different. We have today, which is a mixture of inspiration and discussion, and then tomorrow you go into sort of more deep learning. When you pick your workshops today, there's everything from resilient placemaking to eco-industrial parks, and it just gives you 2 hours to really sit with someone and go deeper into that particular project, in addition to today, which is sort of more inspirational and sort of more debate. And then finally, we've been very, very lucky and grateful to have speakers from the city and other places in the world who've given their time. But again, they're not just architects and planners and designers. Some of them are dealing with alcohol challenges in communities. Some of them are dealing with criminal justice and safety and using design to tackle that. Some are sort of trying to integrate water into inner city regeneration. So our speakers are really incredible. They're a diverse mix of people, and they've really given their time to us for free to inspire you and to join the discussion about community resilience. Thank you very much.